Hey, this is Jim Crowley. It's March 4th, 2024. Let me turn off my background here. You can see, let's see, none. How do I say none? There it is. You can see I'm in my office, never up here. But I am at the moment. Anyway, let's go back to something more interesting there. Uh, anyway, this is where I took my honeymoon with my wife. Beautiful place. Uh, anyway, as you can see, I'm looking decidedly thinner. Uh, since my stomach basically kind of started not cooperating around the first week of March. I mean, around the first week of February, I've lost 15 to 16 pounds, I think. I thought most of it was fluid, but now that I'm looking at me, I can tell that it's definitely kind of all over. Anyway, well, could be fluid that had been, all over. So I guess anyway, all over. But on a good note, Bitcoin is up today. I think we're at like $67,000. So we're right up there near an all-time high, which is even before the halving. So we can see some downtrends, but better yet, MicroStrategy, which significant position, is up 20% today or more. Stupid people out there have shorted it, I guess as a way to short Bitcoin without shorting Bitcoin, which is stupid because it's not Bitcoin, it's a stock. And so you can't just go buy more of it. Oop, there went my light. You can't just go buy more of it as easily as you can. Bitcoin on the exchange. There's not, if this is just not as deep. You've got $1.3 billion, or 1.3 trillion worth of Bitcoin. And maybe about half of that has been moved in the last couple of years. So and you only got a very few billions worth of MicroStrategy. So yeah, not a very smart move. Anyway, I thought I might cover a couple things today. My health. I wrote a post today that I posted about, and should you be able to restrict or classify medical treatment knowledge? And obviously, in my opinion, is probably a little biased on that. I'm trying to see if I can choose my way to just for low light. Let's see if that works. That'll work enough. Anyway, so should they be able to restrict it? I mean, the key here is it's not this treatment that I did to myself. It doesn't even use a real medicine. I mean, originally they used a shot of adrenaline, but I duplicated that using Diet Coke. As I pointed out in my article, you're welcome to use Diet Pepsi or what Diet Dr. Pepper, as long as it's got caffeine in it. I think it worked just fine as I said. Anyway, so I wrote a post about that. So go read that. But kind of what I wanted to talk about was kind of what's going on right now, and let's just say that the stomach is not digesting food. So what's happening? And this is, if you go read my original post. So if you go to jimcredit.com and just go look for my old summary, or if on my Wix website you click the one that's real old, you'll find that I've got like a statement there to an emergency room physician, and I talk about, I'm like, look, you're going to think I'm having a heart attack or something like that, but if you'll just do some imaging of my abdomen, you'll realize that my stomach isn't working. And there's absolutely nothing you can do about it besides give me vasoconstrictors and things to increase the pressure of my heart. And let me talk to my son and then let me go. And so I'm not prescient, okay? That was 2 years ago when I wrote that. And I just know the medical condition that I have, and I know how it ends. And Now, I didn't know right when it was going to end, but I figured, hey, I'll write this statement up, and then when I get to the emergency room at some point, I can show it to them. But, uh, I've kind of decided not to go to the emergency room. Now, here's the thing is that, uh, the people around me may make me go to the emergency room at some point if it gets really bad, but, I've suffered through a lot, and I can suffer through some more, and I'm prepared to, just, have my last day be at home. Anyway, yeah, things are still going through, but they're just not digesting. And uh, let's just say they've gone through different speeds and things, but overall, nothing real positive. And losing weight and everything. So, man, I'm taking a lot of B12. I'm taking my vitamin E, and I realize that, as much as I can, I want to keep things going. And one of the things that I also want to talk about that I don't know that I've talked about so much is that so I talked about in my last video, I think I talked about kind of how you have these cravings for something that's gonna, cause vasodilation. And I kind of remembered how the rest of that works. And so the reason for the vasodilation, the reason for this, you're craving that is because what happens, and this kind of goes with the whole theme. So you remember early on, your body is building up potassium. Okay, you get to a point where have so much potassium and that's being pushed into all of the flesh, and it builds up into your heart beating, pumping harder and harder, and it causes a heart attack. And then suddenly, when that happened, I had like the fluid that felt like my feet were wet, and I had no more pressure in my chest, and things started changing, and kind of went into this next phase, and that was a long, long time ago. And but from there, from there on out, you have this kind of damage to your heart. And so, but now you're building up. So you've got the damage, you're building up bicarbonate, and it kind of washes everything out. You build up the bicarbonate over time, and you get to this later phase, okay. And remember, you still got this heart damage, and so what happens is your pituitary it's making your heart using hormones and everything beat so hard so that it won't leak and things like that. And then when you use something that relaxes it, whether that's a beta blocker, or whether that's alcohol, or THC that vasodilates, or Cialis, now then you cause this leakage again, and so this leakage causes the fluids to go into the interstitial spaces. Well, that is the place where the candidiasis has basically kind of gone to hide, okay? And so it's kind of locked up out there, and when it gets these fluids, it gets sugars, okay? And from the byproduct of this, that somehow it creates, and what they thought was something to do with cannabinoid system, but basically it creates kind of just a high, and it's a different high than most things. But I can tell you, like, for example, back in like 2017, if I just took a tiny little bit, like a drop, so I could make like an extract, just put a drop in a drink or something, I just felt kind of really energized and things like that. And if you did more, it had different effects. But anyway, it's a high, and but it also causes an acceleration. So once you have that leakage, then the candidiasis gets access to the sugars, and it can produce more potassium, which now causes the interstitial area to get more salts in them, and causes more cells to be used up. And so they're getting apoptified. And so it just kind of builds on itself. And so your best option there is not to do it. But once again, the heart is beating. You're getting more and more hormones that kind of further along you get. And so you're getting more and more hormones that are making you tense up. And so, man, you're really starting to crave that, hey, that relaxation feeling, and the high that comes with it, and everything else. So that's just something I kind of wanted to, I forgot to connect those. So it's basically kind of this overflow, this leakage leading to, and a great example here is during this time, I had like pain in my foot, and they were saying, oh, you've got, I forgot what it's called, but anyway, it's, you got kind of like a little, not a cyst, but an area in your foot that it has hardened. And so I'd go get an injection for it and it'd feel better. But the thing about it is during all this time, that is kind of where the candidiasis moves to. And it talked about that, how it literally gets pushed out of your system by all these salts and everything, and basically gets just crammed down into your feet. And the reason it stays down there is because that's where the liquid overflows to, and then it gets pulled back up into the circulation. But it can stay down there because it keeps getting these fluids. It keeps getting, basically kept alive by the fluids that are going down in there. And so, interestingly enough, after, say, in 2022, when I kind of had my last transition and everything, there's this phase, and it talked about it in the article. And you barely remember some things and everything, but it talked about how there was like this last ditch effort of the body to hold the infection inside the foot before let it spread. And it basically does that by just cutting off circulation and keeping your foot just, oh my God, my feet were so cold during this part. It was, I don't know, a day or two, where it was just like my feet were cold, my legs were cold, but my feet were absolutely bone chilling cold, and I couldn't get them warmed up no matter what I did, socks, layers of clothing, everything. And so I made the decision to, get in a hot soaking bath and just stand there with just my feet in the water until my feet warmed up. Because I'm like, okay, this is going to warm up my feet and it's going to feel better. And I at the time I remembered how I talked about this last shepherd, and I'm like, screw it, my feet are freezing cold. If it's going to spread, it's going to spread. And it said it's the last shepherd, so obviously it's going to make it past that at some point. I don't have cold feet. And I stood there in that hot water and got my feet warm. And that day is when I started having pains all over. Okay. And I mean, like, I remember when my wife came home and she was like, what can I do? And I was just crying. I was just standing there in pain, like from my head to my toe, just everything hurt. And that was basically the infection going septic at that point. So at that point it attacks like your immune system areas, and it polishes off them, and moves on to other areas. And so that was like the very beginning of all that. I don't know exactly when that was, sometime early in 2022. And I just distinctly remember that. So it kind of puts the whole picture together about the kind of okay, the candidiasis is there, it's getting forced into the flesh. Then you get the other, the bicarbonate comes in, it forces everything basically to your feet, and when you still got that flow, okay, of the overflow of the liquid going down to your feet, and it kind of keeps it alive, keeps it, there's nothing it can do to really finish it off, and it comes back over time. So, and it takes decades, and it's super patient, and it's just ridiculous that they've hidden all that knowledge. I mean, the amount of science involved is ridiculous, and it's all gone. So I don't know. I just get pissed. What could I have done differently if I had knowledge? If other people had knowledge, what could they have done for me? What medicines could I have been on? What, I would have avoided giving blood in 2018. I would have given more blood earlier. Like what medicines? I don't know. It's ridiculous. Anyway, I'm trying to think. There were other things that I thought I wanted to talk about today. FAFSA. Oh my God, FAFSA has been so ridiculous. My son is going to be a senior next year. I mean, a freshman in college, and I have finally got through the whole FAFSA ordeal. This has got to be their worst year ever. When I went to sign up for FAFSA in January, my email was taken by somebody that had signed up in 2017, but they had never verified the email. So, but it was still locked, and I couldn't get it. So had to call them. When I tried to do that, they said, "Oh, your social security number has been taken by somebody else last month." And so I had to verify my ID, sent in everything, got everything verified. That took a week or so. So that's like sending pictures of your ID and your passport and your social security card. And then the next week after I get everything submitted, my account is disabled. February 5th, I tried to re-enable my account, since called them, finally got through. They said, well, the only way we could do this is to have you resend in your stuff. And I was like, well, how did they get disabled? And they're like, I don't know, maybe someone used the wrong number of password attempts. And I'm like, you can't disable somebody's account permanently based on password attempts, because the crypto kitty can get out there and disable all the accounts. But nevertheless, I sent in all my stuff, didn't work. And basically, long story short, I finally spent enough time on the phone last week that yesterday on Sunday, it finally got verified. So I hope my son appreciates the time that I spent for him getting his FAFSA approved, as well as his MicroStrategy investments. And that's about it for today. You know, I'm guessing 1 day to 3 weeks. That's kind of my range there. And it's weird because I don't actually feel like, on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is the worst day I've ever had, and 10 is like, I don't know, on a healthy day when I'm working out, and I was 38 or something like that. I probably feel a good 6 or 7, my mind is all here, right? I mean, I've got aching and the things, but it's not horrible. And to be 1 day to 3 weeks, from whatever, it's not bad. I mean, a lot of people spend months, or longer, just in unbearable pain. And, at least I'm not. Now then, they also have doctors telling them what's wrong. So I don't know if that would be comforting or not. So I gotta go. I have physical therapy, which I don't need. Because guess what? All the shoulder pain and stuff like that is basically, I mean, I have some pain when I put weight directly on, I mean, just some, like right there, right up to here. And if I put weight over there on that shoulder, like press on that, I have a little bit of pain. I have this, belly pain that's been off and on, but it's better today actually than it has been. But it's not horrible. And all the pain has moved from, basically what happens here is, the candidiasis goes to where the food is. And so once it breaks through the barrier, whatever it did there the first week of February, and breaks through the barrier to get to my belly, that's when I started having belly issues. And it goes, well, I don't need this other stuff anymore. And whoosh, and it's so smart. It knows when to turn what on. If you read about candidiasis, it knows when to, do, oxygen deprived metabolism versus oxygen enabled metabolism, and all this different stuff. So anyway, it goes to where the food is, and that's where it is right now. So and because the circulation's already been cut off and everything, it's like, really don't feel what's going on, even though it's horrible. It's really insidious. That's all I can tell you. And so 3 weeks puts me at the 25th of March. My goal is the 15th of March, just because Will's supposed to hear about some of his schools he's applied to by then. I gotta go though.